Welcome in, Fourth and Five. I got another episode for you, and a lot of people have been asking me, DJ, can we talk about the Razorbacks and the NFL Combine and your thoughts on their performance? And I got you covered. All right, we got a lot coming up for Fourth and Five. So, best way to keep up with all this content, like, share, and just hit that subscribe button. And the more comments you leave, the more content we will produce based off what you ask for. And people ask for this, we're going to get right into it. Five Razorbacks to talk about. Isaac Tesla, Jaquindon Jackson, Landon Jackson, Eric Gregory, and Andrew Armstrong. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I think when it comes to NFL potential, draft potential, these guys had before the combine. All right. So you can see some numbers right now. Isaac Tesla, I thought, is going to be a free agent guy, but I know he had the ability to maybe get into camp and get picked up on a team and potentially make a roster. All right, then you have your Andrew Armstrong. I know he really, from some reason, isn't up on the draft charts when it comes to high draft pick. Third, fourth round. I think he may be a fifth to sixth, 7th round pick, and I think that would be a steal. Landon Jackson. This is where it gets interesting. I know some people think first round, best defensive edge rusher in the draft. I honestly think, based off tape alone, specifically his last year, I would have him a solid 3rd round, maybe creep into the 2nd round if I'm just looking at tape. Eric Gregory, he's going to be a guy who has to battle it out in camp. I'd be very surprised if he gets drafted. And then you have Jaquindon Jackson. He's a big back, athletic, and when healthy, he was pretty impressive. But he was dealing with injury later in the year. I have him as a late, maybe 6th, 7th round draft pick. All right, so that's what I think before the combine. Let's talk about the combine. I'm going to start with the guy who absolutely blew it up. We thought for a while there Landon Jackson was going to be the top Razorback performer. No, 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 no. Isaac Tesla, this guy blowing it out of the water. I mean, when he ran a 4.4340, I was like, what is happening? All right, so we've heard a lot about this guy. Let's go ahead and take a look at his numbers right here. So, like I said, that 4.4340, he ran a 1.510 yard split, vertical jump just half an inch away from a 40-inch broad jump, almost 11 foot, 3 cone drill. That 20-yard shuttle is ridiculous. I want to say maybe the best in the draft amongst receivers. Bench press 17 reps. Pretty good for a guy that's going to measure it at 6'4, 214 pounds. Overall athleticism score 96. Y'all, that ranks first amongst receivers in all of the draft. And so, what I think this did for Isaac Tesla, I think this raised enough eyebrows, that is, for now scouts to take a little bit closer look at his tape. Okay, I know a lot of people were trying to figure out, why did he not get the ball? Why did he not get the ball? I think the year before he struggled because he was our primary target and he drew a lot of attention. And I think the year before he struggled creating space and getting separation. He did earlier against the kind of like the non-conference teams, but when we played some real dudes, he struggled. Then he worked on it, got a lot better. Last year was open a lot. Unfortunately, I think Talon was just in that first year offense with Coach Petrino, and he just really honed in on Andrew Armstrong just about every single play. So many times in the middle of the field, Tesla understanding the separation and the spacing of the routes and the concepts and one-on-one situations. In my opinion, I thought he did a great job getting open. The ball really just didn't come his way. Well, you take away some of those big-time targets, you go to the bowl game, look what he does. And so I think this will have now scouts looking at his tape, and what I thought was maybe going to be a free agent pickup now may get drafted 7th round. And depending on what a team needs, could even be slipped up, in my opinion, in the 6th round. I know that may sound wild, and don't get it twisted. Just because I say 6th or 7th round, I mean, to make it to the NFL, it's a percent of people who can make it to that level. So all very impressive. So I think that will definitely help his case. And I think once he gets on the team, he can contribute in special teams. But Tesla, if you're listening to this, one thing that needs to show up once you get to camp, you got to figure out how to be a dog. All right. Because they're going to try to punk you. They're going to say, okay, we get you have all these combine numbers, but this isn't a professional team for working out. This ain't CrossFit. You got to be a baller. Those guys are going to press you. They're going to get in your face. They're going to try to dog you. You got to fight. And sometimes I say it as, like, fight with all your heart, but you might have to physically fight in camp and let them know that you belong on that field. So, very impressive combine. Next guy, Landon Jackson. I mean, you talk about this dude, just take a look at his numbers. I mean, when you get 6'6", 264 pounds, and you're running a 4.68, that's just about 4.7. A lot of people thinking, oh, that's not blazing. I think we're getting too spoiled with like these 40 times, like 4.3s and 4.2s. Anything besides that is not fast anymore. 4.68 for a guy that big is moving. That is extremely fast. So that is very impressive. And then his vertical, like I said, up there, I think number 2 all time, only behind Myles Garrett, and combine numbers. Broad jump, just about 11 foot as well. Ranking as far as athleticism score between all of the defensive end and edge rushers, number 2. So definitely, once again, is raising more attention for his draft stock. Like I said, I had him at a solid third round. I think this may potentially put him as a solid second round draft pick, depending on what teams need. Now, I know a lot of people, Landon himself, may think he may be going first round. I would be surprised. And the reason I say that is because of this tape right here. This is one-on-ones from the Senior Bowl, and this is what scouts want to see. Take all the other elements out where sometimes you get picked or the quarterback has to get out of the pocket. This is just one-on-one, you versus me. Let's see who's going to be more athletic and who is better. And he struggled in all of these reps, ended up on the ground. And so scouts look at this. I don't think this is going to be so detrimental, but I think bumps him out of the first round. And once again, when I look at his tape, what I saw is a lot of people are thinking pass rusher, where I think that Landon Jackson will thrive. I think he is exceptional in the run game. Perfect size, put him in a 3-4 defense where you have a nose tackle, 2 defensive end, and those outside rushers, those 4-4, 4-5 guys nowadays. Landon would be perfect at that DN situation because he kind of can play in between both. He's long, he creates separation. And I think what's underrated with him sometimes is his ability to stalemate an offensive lineman and then get off of that block and be involved in the tackle for the running back or whoever has the ball carrier. So I think that's impressive. A lot of people ask why he didn't do the bench press. I'm honestly not mad at it. It would be good to show something maybe at pro day just for like that old man strength type thing. But Landon having such long arms, I don't expect him to have a high bench press at all. I mean, maybe 23, maybe 24. When you think DNs that get drafted that high, you would like to see that number somewhere in the 28, 29. He just has long arms, and that's going to just wear him out. So his 1 rep max may be a lot more telling of his true strength than 225. All right, let's get to our next guy, Andrew Armstrong. And like I said, pre-draft, I think it's going to drop in the later rounds. Now, I was impressed with his combine numbers. He ran a 4.5, and I believe it was pretty low. Yeah, 4.51. So essentially, if you look at a 4.49, you're like, oh, he's a 4.4 receiver. But once again, y'all, we're getting spoiled with these times. 4.51, plenty fast. You look at one of the top receivers in the draft, and Trey Harris, that just dynamic playmaker from Ole Miss, who's probably going to go first round. He ran a 4.54. So that's not blistering speed by today's standards, but it's enough to get the job done. I think Andrew Armstrong's tape is going to speak most for him. All of his numbers look good. Broad jump, vertical, bench press a little low, but for a receiver coming in, at 6'4", 202 pounds, that's not the worst in the world. And 6'4" is big too. His ability to adjust to the ball in the air, great with his hands. I think this probably kind of just reaffirmed what a lot of these scouts were thinking. If we can get him in those later rounds, it's going to be a steal. I think he has a great shot to do something special. Let's get to Eric Gregory. It's going to be tough for Eric Gregory. I'll say that. Numbers not too impressive. And that's, you look at guys like that. I get he's going to be 300 plus pounds. He measured at 319, 6'3", 5'1", 40. Not too impressive, but pretty average for a big D tackle in the old days. Nowadays, those guys are moving. Vertical jump, 27, not very explosive. Broad jump, just 9 feet, not very explosive. So you would think with that, you got to just show some brute strength. 28 reps on the 225. Once again, it's a training thing. I'm pretty sure if it was a 1 rep max, he'd be closer to that 450, 475. I don't know if he's a 500-pound bencher, but if you were, it's different when you have the stamina training. It's going to be uphill battle for Eric Gregory. He's going to have to get to camp and then just show some real heart, determination, and another guy who you just got to be extra nasty and show him that you belong. Hopefully, you can catch on somewhere and have the opportunity to grow. Last guy, Jaquindon Jackson. You know, uh, Very interesting here. I said a later round draft pick, maybe sixth, seventh. Just with his size and speed, ability to cut, he has some really good tape when he's healthy. I think this is the only one that potentially hurt himself in the draft, and he didn't run the 40, which was surprising because he did all the other drills. But when you look at his vertical jump, this is what concerns me: 32 inches. Usually with the vertical also ties into with being extremely explosive. And for a back, you need to be explosive, especially getting through the line of scrimmage and getting up to full speed. And then you pair that with a broad jump that's under 10 feet for a running back. That's not very good. And so I think I'm not sure what his training regimen was. He needs to show up and have a really good pro day at Arkansas to maybe do some things. I think he's the only one that potentially hurt his draft stock. But if he comes back and has a decent pro day, shows that he can move very fast, and they've seen what he's like healthy, he makes some really big time runs. I think we'll have another shot to kind of keep him in that late draft pick. So a lot of big things showed up, but once again, shout out to the stars of the combine from Arkansas, Landon Jackson and Isaac Tesla. Another one thing I want to show real quick from Isaac Tesla were the drills of catching. It was a kind of a bad thrown ball, and this is what I think really showcase and highlights the potential of Isaac Tesla of just having some great ball awareness and body awareness, having this catch over the shoulder. A lot of guys like to turn their shoulders all the way around and catch this ball kind of right in front of him. He did a great job doing what you're pretty much coached to do in the combine and letting it come over the shoulder and getting the ball that way. So that was very encouraging to see from Isaac Tesla as well. So some great things on tape. Hopefully these guys can keep things rolling. And like I said, we got a lot coming for you on 4th and 5. We still got a lot of breakdowns on the transfer guys coming in. We have more offensive linemen. We have some receivers. We got some DBs. We got it all coming. So keep sending in the comments, like, share the content. And most of all, the best way to support and keep this thing rolling is hit that subscribe button. And we got another live show coming up. Yeah, it's going to be March 22nd in Hot Springs at Oaklawn. So if you want to come out, hang out with us in person, and be a part of the show, by all means, make a trip down to the Spa City. We'll be hanging out. Appreciate y'all watching 4th and 5.